Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our third of five sessions for a program on vaccines reconsidered, as we essentially have a retrospective on the pandemic and the issues that emerged, not only for the United States, but for the entire world around healthcare and what measures are appropriate by government agencies and major corporations to take in the face of a health emergency such as we experienced during COVID. As we begin today, I want to just note that this is our third day and we're still on air. As I've said over the last 2 days, this program would not have been possible 2 years ago, because any public discussion of the pandemic or the vaccines in particular was judged by the government, not only in the United States, but around the world, and the major social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Google, etc., as essentially illegal, and people could be taken down. Humanity Rising received a couple of black marks as we got as close as we could to this issue. We had Robert Kennedy on in the early days and various doctors. And I wanted to express appreciation to President Donald Trump for making this possible and for nominating Robert Kennedy Jr. as the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, and other individuals that are being confirmed as we speak this week for other major positions in the U.S. government, with a mandate to look seriously at why it is that the American public has the worst health of any country in the world, and what are the factors that go into it, and how we can make America healthy again. I wanted to be a little explicit about thanking Donald Trump, because I know that creates cognitive dissonance. Many of us progressives have considered Donald Trump to be the antithesis of everything we stand for, and to a large degree that's true. But I want to just remind us all of something that Ken Wilber, the great integral philosopher, has said. And that is, he says, no one is right all the time, and no one is wrong all the time. So to appreciate who something, or what something really is, or who someone really is, we have to move beyond our categories of left and right and good and evil, and really take in the actual experience in and of itself. I watched the State of the Union address by President Trump last night, and many things I strongly disagree with. And I found myself agreeing with what he was saying about making America healthy again, and several other issues. And I realized that one of the challenges of our time is to leave behind the ideological boxes of Democrat and Republican, to take the case of the United States, but the socialists and the conservatives in Europe, and all of our categories, because they're all being rent asunder by the complexity of a hyper-complex world. And that leads me to the second point I want to make, that in this world of ours, the protection of democratic freedoms is now becoming paramount. And what we've seen over the last 4 years with regards to American healthcare is a collusion between government and corporate interests that the framers of our Constitution didn't even think about when they wrote the Bill of Rights, asserting that the government cannot abridge free speech, for example, the right to assembly. Never dreamed in the late 18th century by our founding fathers that the government would circumvent this by getting the corporations to do it. So as we contemplate democratic principles in relationship to healthcare, as we contemplate what does informed consent mean in a world in which we're all on social media, and the corporations are not included in our constitutional protections, this raises serious questions and also challenges for the preservation of democracy as we move into a world in which the corporate sector is bigger than governments and stronger than governments. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Humanity Rising as we contemplate the vast impact of the pandemic between 2020 and essentially 2023. In this spirit, I want to welcome our speaker for today, Jeffery Jaxen, who's a veteran investigative journalist of some renown, who has been investigating, along with many other people, the true realities of the pandemic, and has been deeply involved in the Informed Consent Action Network, and investigates not only health-related issues, but all kinds of issues that, in his judgment, need to see more light so that the public can be better informed. Because only a well-informed public can make democracy as strong as it needs to be to counter those forces in government, in the corporate sector, that don't want us to have the information to exercise informed consent. That's the anvil for democracy in what the pandemic